One of the most tender, one of the most influential, one of the greatest poets alive, Ross Gay.
Hello. How are you? Good. It's good to. I can't see you, but it's good to see you. I'm going to read this thing that before tonight I was calling a short essay, and tonight I'm calling it a prose poem. Because I was walking around the beautiful kind of, like the garden stuff. They got a lot of beautiful gardens, actually. I got a fig, actually, down near the creek. You believe it? Yes, you can. And then I got, someone came up to me, swear to God, and was like, hey, I thought you might be here. Here's some pawpaw seeds. So this little, I know. So this essay, this prose poem, is about pawpaws, and it's really new. So, yeah, okay. So I don't know how to start it yet, but I'm describing the pawpaw, which is not a papaya. The fruit, here it's not a papaya. The fruit turns from an almost golden green to a greenish gold to yellow to mottled, liver-spotted yellow. Think of an old banana, to which also the pawpaw's taste is compared, Though I am here to report that the pawpaw tastes to the store banana as what a custard banana or ice cream banana tastes to the store banana, i.e. way better, and complexly so. And it turns to brown, to dark brown, maybe black even. Anyhow, this happens very quickly. An unrefrigerated pawpaw will go through this process in a few days, a week tops. And given as we have 5 pawpaw trees on the north side of the house, which have surprised us with probably about 500 pawpaws, last year they made 7, it is fucking nuts. They are dropping outside as I write this. Thunk, thunk, you can hear them plop on the plywood door to the crawl space, rolling into the mint below. Thunk. These 500 pawpaws will ripen over the course of about 3 weeks or so. I'm no arithmetician, but I can tell you that means 25 pawpaws a day. About 5 of which are taken, I assume, by raccoons and possums, thank God. Every day I find the nibbled remains of a few fruit with what I presume are the dainty fingernail prints of the critters. Split open, they look something like smiles, and if you get close, you'll see the ants and fruit flies stumbling through the flesh in bacchanalic bliss. Anyhow, there are precisely 3 ways to deal with such abundance. The first is that you eat it. That taste analogy above about bananas, which works maybe even better when you remember that the pawpaw is called the Indiana and Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Kentucky, Kansas, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Alabama, Maryland, etc. banana, is to suggest that pawpaws have a sophisticated flavor, a flavor that is ununiform and powerful. No raw vegan would ever go for eating 25 pawpaws a day, I'm saying. That will never be one of the fasting books. Not because they don't taste good enough, but because they taste so much. From the early ones, which are firm and juicy and crisply sweet, these ones probably where the comparison to mango, banana, pineapple derive, to the riper ones, which become almost gooey, puddingish, a touch of caramel, a touch of smoke, some say a touch of vanilla, and if you get a touch of skin, you'll taste the compound, not delish, that keeps the bugs at bay. A mess to eat these, and fun. Lots of finger licking and such, wiping hands on clothes and such, they will show. Like the kid in 2nd grade who always wiped his nose on his shirt. Went to Harvard. All that said, you will not be able to, nor will you probably want to, eat 25 pawpaws a day, strictly seasonal eater though you aspire to be. A solution to which, and this is the second way of dealing with such abundance, is pawpaw ice cream, which I have never made despite having occasionally accrued too many pawpaws from a grove down the street, the exact location of which I am not at liberty to disclose. And then I cut a chunk because I don't want to run over. I'm just telling you the recipe. Call me. If anyone knows me, they'll be like, you don't pick up your phone. I quickly learned that a less ripe pawpaw, you gotta squeeze the seeds out to get the pulp. I quickly learned that a less ripe pawpaw's seeds are more inclined to forsake their flesh than an older one, in which resides some metaphor about the recklessness of youth. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, etc. The paler flesh almost spits out the gleaming black seeds, in which resides a more explicitly fornicatory metaphor. And it feels, thank you, and it feels to me necessary here not only to mention how beautiful the pawpaw seed is, so obviously a kind of jewel, but how beautiful so many seeds are. I don't mean they are beautiful because they are seeds, which is a fact. I mean they are beautiful because they look like jewels. They are probably why we think jewels look like jewels, because they look like seeds. But in the riper fruit, remember we're talking about 2 or 3 days here, commerce be damned, in which the pulp is usually darker, a luminous yellow like raw butter maybe. The flesh clings to those seeds steadfast, and it took me a little meditative while trying to clean those seeds of flesh to learn that I could run my thumbnail along the edge of the seed, which would unseam the purse of flesh surrounding the seed. Or maybe it was more like a sac, or a sac amniotic, from which, moving my thumb meticulously over the seed, I could free it, though free seems the wrong word for dislodging a gem from a sugar sack. For the record, this is almost the precise motion I make while dislodging dried beans from their pods. With the beans, I think of it as unzipping. Kin movements, to say the least. The next step will be to freeze the pawpaw pulp, which could be whipped into a pudding, no sweat, after which, as I said, a splash of coconut milk and a pinch of salt, and whiz. There's a recipe. The third way to deal with the pawpaw abundance is to give them away, as I've been doing like it's my job for the past 2 weeks, carrying a cotton bag with pawpaws everywhere I walk. The coffee shop, the community art space, my neighbors, the farm stop. It's not quite, but almost predatory the way I have lately been more or less chasing people down the street with pawpaws, asking them if they are familiar with them the way some people hawk the Lord. There are few things as gratifying, meaningful might even be the word, as asking someone if they like pawpaws. And when they say yes, especially if they say hell yes, pulling 2 or 3 whoppers out of your bag, which they thought for some reason had books in it. As I recall these interactions and how hard the people smile receiving the fruit, or how fully, as though a great cleansing air is blowing into them, you might imagine I smile. I smile thinking about them smiling, much as I laugh thinking about people laughing, sweetly laughing, myself included. This might be an answer to something. But no sharing has been quite as delicious as when I caught the folks who live in Don Belton's old house, where I frequently canoodle with the butterfly bush he did not plant, but it was here when he was, and so smells something like him, as do now all butterfly bushes. This couple has a toddler whose head is actually round as a plum. He's so definitionally cute, you kind of expect him to be a little asshole of a baby. So unlopsided, so undented is he, you'd expect him to bite your knee off or spit at you. But this kid ain't that kid. This kid's demeanor is as picturesque as his sweet, spherical, smiling head. I pulled a few pawpaws from my bag as they were walking out to their car, asked if they could use any. The mom, who grows a very lovely and much pollinated garden, she keeps bees, was appropriately excited. And the second I handed them to her, perhaps titillated by his mother's enthusiasm, the baby started yammering his cute little head about gimme, gimme, or something, the way babies do. And the mom peeled a little of the pawpaw skin with her teeth while lowering the fruit, which was to him about the size a muskmelon would be to me. So he held it with both hands and concentrated before sinking whatever he had for teeth into the golden flesh his mother had exposed for him. And as he took a few seconds registering the taste, which I've already told you is a lot of taste, I think I saw at least 4, maybe 5 responses flash across his face before he seemed to settle on one, looking in my direction for a second before looking at his mom with newly huge eyes and humming, mmm. She said something babyish and encouraging to the pipsqueak before telling him to say thank. She said something babyish and encouraging to the pipsqueak before telling him to say thank you. While holding his mother's leg with one hand and with the other his pawpaw very close to his mouth, he looked at me with a smile like the future and said, quietly, almost prayerful, almost grave, Senku. And next up, our beloved, I've known you since 2003, I think. It's a weird time. Yeah, Erica Hunt.
Make us laugh. We need some laughs. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm going to read 2 things or 3 things. Quick. Someone matching your description. I started with a character, Veronica, who's my alter ego. So this is addressed to Veronica. The late Tyrone Williams pointed out to me that Veronica was an anagram of my name. I said, oh, that's why we need the scholars, huh? We'll miss Tyrone. Dedicate it to him then. You wake me up, Veronica, to escort you to the door, to the unknown. And I am slapped awake, paperless. Where are my eyeglasses? They're abandoned on the ledge. And I'm startled, like you are, a tongue triggered dry, staring into eyes emptied of the exact shape of mercy. They are ice. You, Veronica, are beside yourself. Your face is a burned-down house. Count me in, and I will walk with you, Veronica. Though you are mostly alone, you're even dry-eyed at the funeral. Even being of 2 minds is not enough. When Jacob wrestled with the angel, I wonder who is wrestling with me now, or you, to argue reasonable doubt when I know they never leave their guns. No, they never leave their guns. They carry them everywhere, in churches, bars, courtrooms. They put scare quotes around the world. They are never mistaken. You see, they have no words for mistake, no words, no reason for indefinite register. There are no words in me, almost obvious. The obvious thread that binds the master to the supply of mastery. Even sleeping histories abolished, fictions live on, absent the bigot who said it, whose afterthought is our constant undermine. Just one knowing what is known from before, and knowing what the owners of copious knowing know. They know everything without speaking. They say without saying exactly. Be my scapegoat, my sex toy, my just dessert, my bowl of candy, the prophets, my penciled thought, my extinction. Thanks. This is something new this year. The beginning, an opening of a longer poem, more narrative than I am usually. It's called Mood Librarian, and takes its cue from Scheherazade, the storyteller, and also its other cue from the banning of books, and also the banning of stories and the banning of our lives and history. How did you get your name? I am the second daughter of a second daughter in a luminous loop stitch of girls and women who test the rope and sell the shadow to support the substance, who push the outer out from out of bounds, who mind duty to weave a daily bread, who unthread and rewind at night. We burn both ends. We learned never to turn our backs to them, lest they underestimate us. We never let them assume and erase us, the them that consume and appropriate us, the them that see my body as part of the calculus, to subtract the profit from sacrifice to their unquenchable God, an almighty dollar, pence and pound of flesh, for whom no labor is ever enough, demanding can't see to can't see, rock-busting, stone-busting, bone-crushing, false God, blind to suffering. We fashioned hollers and bone calls, blues and hymns to blunt the toll. We paid bills due for ransom in order that our daughters live, that they rise above zero, and raise daughters who liberate their children's children from a stubborn clay. This catastrophic dust imagined as freedom. Wow. Thank you. There's more, though. Tell me again, how did you get your name? When my nearest neighbor takes the air on her porch, eyes closed at rest or prayer, turned inward to her youth, she resembles my mother, restored to an earlier, older self, comfortable in her robe's faded folds, her hair satin-wrapped and impossible. I exhale a kiss to her as if she was my mother, risen from her rest, where she has been waiting death, just like the rest of us, just a little closer to the door, and she throws an encouraging smile and revives me from an unacknowledged slumber. The way she sees me helps me to see me. Reassembled and framed, a specific noun linked to a verb, unwavering and named. Have you ever come across a book that tells you something about yourself that you did not know? Perhaps you meet the gaze of a person looking out back at you from that book in a turn of the phrase, a photo sculpture or a canvas, holding your stare so that you trip over the seam of uncanny resemblance. But how did you get your name? Answer: I was a child of testing. Tests to supply proof of a valued life, and tests to gauge possible failure, tests to check in on the already said, and tests to confirm tests as a way of thinking. There was always a test in which one could have scored higher to improve upon luck in that casino simulation of the odds held in the actuarial table of Black life. Living through minus to minus, never knowing where the zero stalks my black marked bullseye on my back, even when I didn't know it. Like when the cab driver said to me, once I got into the car, "You hailed me as if you were a white man," and then demanded I leave. As a question, here's a question. What is the Black way of hailing a cab? And finally, freedom. Freedom ignites in me plenitude, a scent of rain, Since the sky is full of surprising music, timpani, trumpet, a blue tent torn that orders cogent, cumulative event in which no false intonation claims itself king over all, because every last woman, man, and child prove the rain falls, never to be worn out. Freedom is the breaking point beyond rage. Say that again. Freedom is the breaking point beyond rage, and I'm not scared. And I don't care. When the dream undertakers have warned me not to take too much, not to love too much, not to look too closely at the past. In the past, what could there be left to break? Thank you. Thank you. It's hard to remember. I'm very honored to introduce the next poet, Francine J. Harris.
Thank you. The belief of the addict about his progress. The addict has a crude joke. It goes, "What do you get when the vein gives out?" The nurse says, "What?" The addict says, "Cancer." The daughter says, "What?" The addict lies like elevator doors on the ward, up and stuck open. On the ward, the elevator doors open, cable, like artery that has malfunctioned and opens to an empty shaft. It comes up without moving, so who am I? Him? Make him perk from his stumble tipped. His body suspends along a different physics that defies gravity in useless plunge. The nod knows his way around the lift to keep grounded. On the ward, the elevator doors make him perk from his stumble tipped. Open, his body suspends along cable like artery, a different physics that has malfunctioned, that defies gravity and opens to an empty shaft. In useless plunge, it comes up. The nod without moving, knows his way around the lift. So who am I to keep him grounded? There are other old men on the floor who tell jokes. They trade containers of juice. The other old men like stories. The addict likes one-liners, like, "You know when you know." What do you get when you cross Jesus, a Catholic, and an addict? The daughter goes, "What?" The addict goes, "You can't cross Jesus in front of a Catholic." What about the addict? No one cares about the addict. In his old age, the addict gets randy. He walks with his genitals out. Over Jell-O, he talks about digging for splinters through pink meat. He spreads his thighs that droop like theater drapes. He puns with his bile and sponge. He has tragic memory of falling in hallways and attics and flats. The mother says he is a medical myth. All of us watch him perk from his stumble. The addict with cancer, half spinning and half split. What do you get when you cross heroin and cancer? What? No, I'm really asking. The addict lies nasty, like a bedpan spilled to the floor. The addict lies so bad he's gonna be clean in a week. The addict lies so hard his pants are flat. His mouth is fat, his mouth's on fire. The addict lies so good you think you're lying. The addict lies so long the addict has cancer. The addict's so locked in his lies he thinks he's alive. What do you get when you try to save the addict who tries to kill himself? Are you Catholic? At rest, the body is like a heavy box tipped along a river of nurses running past the addict and using thermometers on his metal of cables. You can hear the rusty ring when he nods. You can hear the weight of the lift when he nods. You can hear the men on other floors pushing buttons, the motor humming, nothing moves. When he nods, a second ring of ladders, the empty shaft and the doors are open, like when he stood in the kitchen nodding on the second highest rung, perched like fruit on some dense hot air. He never slips between pulleys. The hum of the guardrail at his deep, open-robed spine signals the daughter, and she rings for a floor, yanks him back into space, still and stiff. Why did the addict fall out of the tree? Because he was dead? Because the nod needs a pulley mechanic. Walking underneath a nodder is bad luck, like blowing into an open elevator shaft is tricky, like ringing for ground on the ground is high. The addict has cold sockets and his pupils lay blue, like the sky. I wanted to read you a couple new poems, and so they took on a theme. Portrait of my father mocking Sammy Davis Jr. He widens an eye and gets down on one knee. He accepts a sliver of silver from my mother and kisses her behind. He calls her Frank Sinatra. He calls our house the Rat Pack. He steps away from his piano into the kitchen with a carrot, and now he is Nat King Cole. He is singing Mona Lisa on a top while he holds my mother's hand. She is the head of Capitol Records. He could do this every day for 15 minutes. He forever sings to the stalk over jungle plants, buzzing along the windowsill. They go hand over hand in a photo album. His pompadour is tight. He leans out the window crooning. He hollers at all the little snakes get back. Now he is bundling up in sweaters. Now we all eat chocolate pudding. He hates the way we curse. My father is silvering up his tap shoes. He overdoses on a living room couch. Now he has a Duke Maestro on a poster. He's super funny with the self-demure. In his nod, he is Richard Pryor, bluing in an afro flame. Every day he jokes about his body on fire. Now, if only he could remember his mother. He crumbles into Sunday morning on a stage, suddenly scatting over oatmeal. Now he is El Giro. We, she, and he take 5. We are strumming into stutter on guitar, but now he is turning over the dark into miles. He turns his back to my mother's fading hue. He is blowing holes into living room walls. His popped lapels are flattening. Flattering his jacket is leather and shaft. He sports the private eye Duke slumped over. He takes up a shotgun to the neighborhood in blue. Here he is, the mirage of a sober pimp. He sends my mother off to the mailbox. One last honey, go get my money. The snow is full of snow and maroon. He is Bryant Gumbel up at sunrise, keeping his news secret from the network. He is high and he can't stop smiling. None of his teeth go missing. He is painting his mouth blue and dressing in dresses. My father flips Flip Wilson. No one will see his second act. The weather is full of beautiful Muppets. My father is Ben Bereen. He tips his bowler and he lifts the sky. Wow. where you could sit up straight. I have walked with half a skull, and I have walked with a blanched shell. I have walked, legs split hungry, and I have walked too old, and my body bones around the middle, and I sling open one eye to the white whale of you, blowing up spittle and gorge and chunks of barnacle hunkered between two ankles where I have inched close to a dribble, a crawl, a hunkering over like a fat black man, white-chested, carrying the fragile egg of us over weighted ice. I have walked on thick toes and you never said a word. I have walked hands out of gloves. I have walked dragged sled with you slumped over in it, and we have fallen on the ice. We have fallen with our glass bottles of milk and boiled water and our hands cut up. I have walked carrying roof siding and wool bedding and fat. And I have walked carrying nails between fingers, and I have walked with wood and enough ocean floor to build you small rooms where you could sit up straight. I have walked, and you have watched me go. You have watched me go and said nothing, and you have said nothing and sat still, great egg. Wow. Thank you. And now please help me to welcome my Texas state mate, the inimitable Roger Reeves.
Grendel, all lions must lean into something other than a roar. James Baldwin, for instance, singing Precious Lord. His voice is weary as water broken over his scalp in a storefront, sanctified church's baptismal pool all those years ago when he wanted to be somebody's child and on fire in that being. Lord, I want to be somebody's child. And chosen water spilling over their scalp. Water taking the shape of their longing. A deer diving into evening traffic in the furrow drawn in the air over the hood of the car. Power. And wanting to be something alive and open. Lord, I want to be alive and open. A glimpse of power, the shuffle of a mother's hand over a sleeping child's forehead, as if clearing the city's rust from its face, which we mostly are. A halo of rust, a glimpse of power. James Baldwin leaning into the word light, his voice jostling that single grain in his throat as if he might drop it or already has. I'm calling to that grain of light, to that gap between his teeth, where the many of us fatherless sleep and bear and be whatever darkness or leaping thing we can be. In James Baldwin's mouth, my difficult beauty, my weak and worn, my future as any number of angels, which is not unlike the beast Grendel, coming out of the wild heaven into the hills and halls of the meat house at the harpist's call, with absolute prophecy in his breast and a desire for mercy, for a friend, an end to drifting and loneliness. And in that coming down, out of the hills, out of the trees for once, bringing humans the best vision of themselves, which of course must be slaughtered. So in the spirit of Fury's Flower, right, in the spirit of doing sort of difficult things, I'm going to read some new stuff. I normally like to hold that for I like to hold stuff for years. So we shall see. Lazarus, But the rabbit keeps on being rabbit inside the maggots. Watch them run, the light on their fur cajoling them to leap in the red time of the leaves. Where the rabbit fell was severed from the light and the whole wideness of itself, where east touches west, and west touches the edge of night, the grass, the humped-up cat, licking the red time of the rabbit from its quick and claw, and feels the east leaping of the rabbit in the west of its mouth, and leaps, becoming a self that it did not know it wanted to become. Rabbit, light on the great house of the earth, the day shifting from one shaped shadow to another, and the rabbit cat puts its paw down in the grass without boundary but full of death, simultaneous as the earth in you, that you become when laid down in it, and the maggots rush to meet you at the door with bread and milk. You're native to this world, they say, as they rush you into the house of the dead, rush you into yourself, keeping up with itself. I live in Texas, and there was, I'm really big on like following nature and what's happening because I live like in the woods almost. And so there was this disease that was basically making its way through deer across the US, and it was a consumptive disease, and it would turn deer into zombies. So this poem sort of comes from out of that. I know you didn't expect deer and zombies in Texas, but here we are. Night knowledge. Deer turning zombies circle after circle in a blue field. Blue bonnets mashed and matted to the deer's bluing heels. This, the manna and unleavened miracle of a deer that less than 4 full moons before, obeying the turn and compass of its mind, nosed through the drying timothy and moon to find a company of deer, splashed and wet with light, eating from a field, and cried to them, not out of misery, not yet at least, but cried, nevertheless, out of recognition perhaps, to say, here am I. Maybe in the crying, the company of deer heard, smelled the unclean thing nesting in him, so said nothing back, just kept on eating, but the night echoed, answered, here am I, a lantern holding the dark. Night is a lantern that holds the dark. And see, it says, that which is the wideness of your life, the snow that sweeps the white flowers underground, and the white flowers underground. Is this the knowledge of the night, that we are merely a gate of God, a swinging curtain miming the air passing through it, but is not the air itself, only its echo. So when the wind no longer cares to lean, discarded, we tremble above the ground, zombie in a field, gored by darkness, and humbly the night bows to us, in us, genuflex to our gutted tabernacle. Here am I. So I'll just read 2 more, one more new one, and then one more from Best Barbarian. In the House of Senators. Better the decency of living with lions rather than saints who stand at a bank of elevators in the heavenly shaped parking garage, ignoring you who were once a colleague in touching the ear, back, mouth of a sow and shattering it into ink, ecstasy, profit. Now you who were a golden hand are an antelope languishing in the low church of the city, a common animal too feral for firm jobs in the firmament of righteous labor. So the saint looks down at his calfskin-covered feet, twists the knot of silk at his neck, coughs into his blue hands, mumbling of unclean animals at every turn of his off eye. Better to live with lions who take you into the grass after having prayed for your delivery in blood, not for its change, but for its sustenance and pulse, as is, funky in the vernacular of its horn, split hooves and heavy running. Better what can be outran and bows to its loss. The lion in its loss bows to that which outruns it. Unlike the saint in prayer, who sends his heart wrapped and sashed in purloined silk, robed in arrows onto the back of a black stallion made of ash, sends it anywhere his eye fields the unclean thing, the unclean spirit, and calls for a miracle, which is the death of living. Living without the need for miracles, which is a living I would rather, life at the mouth of lions. Children, listen. It turns out, however, I was deeply mistaken about the end of the world. The body in flames will not be the body in flames, but just a house fire ignored. The black sails of that solitary burning boat rubbing along the legs of lovers flung into an Austin sky by a carousel. The lovers too sick in their love to notice a man drenched in fire on a porch, or a child aflame mistaken for a dog, mistaken for a child running to tell of a bomb that did not knock before it entered in Gaza with its glad tidings of abundant joy. In Kazmira's, a god is weeping in a window, one golden hand raised above his head as if he slipped on the slick rag of the future. Our human kindnesses, unremarkable as the flies rubbing their legs together while standing on a slice of cantaloupe. Children, you were never meant to be human. You must be the grass. You must grow wildly over the graves. Thank you. Next up, Dr. Damaris Hill.
In the Garden, an echo poem from Miss Clifton. In this garden of marble and men, I swivel slowly in. I am some clay-faced Janus, following the drums of your tongue. Did you know these halls are prone to echo? God is dead, yet the walls are greedy for confessions. Your words mirror my truth. Forgive me. My voice is a tapestry of tacks, trying to wear the skin of your hymns. So I guess we're the new kids. I'm gonna read some new stuff. I'm working on a memoir. It's entitled Blood Bible. And this is an excerpt from chapter 9. It's entitled Haints in the Hole, a story about an archive. I prayed to know my ancestors. It's near my mother's birthday. She turned 73 in 2022. When I see her last name, her surname, her father's surname, on a map dated 1622. The memories of our life together stops, and I am alone in the archive. I look to my left and right. Awe of recognition floats into anger and worse. Am I in the archive? The 18th century chair looks authentic, like it was made of recycled wood. Which ship was it siphoned from? And how many Africans did the ship carry? The chairs seem to have sprung from the wood floor of this archive like cannons, protecting cargo, contraband, and the sorts. I am staring into the muzzle of the cannon's bore, lip to lip, with this 17th century map. I finger trace the festive outlines of the Somers Isles Company, also known as Bermuda. I see the faces of my family members in the texture of the vellum. I fear they will suffocate under the laminate. I'm trying to make sense of it all. This body, this name, kinship, and constructions of family in colonial empire. How did 3/5 make one boat from the commodified phantom human? They answer the question with a question. Can I dance on the fault lines until I fly? I'm a child of the African diaspora. My ancestors returned to me when I call, and the empire has branded me an expert and set my mouth to modern matters, making me an Ouroboros, a snake eating my own tail. When I was younger, people used to often call me dizzy. They were not wrong. I have been plenty dizzy, looking lovingly at paintings of melted clocks, swaying to jazz tempos and a hip-hop song, falling deeply in love with someone else's lover, sleeping at the foot of the bed. All of these things will let you know I'm dizzy. I can't keep the common sense of time. So when my 21st century self is coiled into an 18th century chair, staring into a 17th century map, dated 1622, a time when England is at war with itself because the king thinks he is a god, and there are less archives than money. I climb on the edge of an antique table and tumble into the map, chasing what I want to know. The stories of my ancestors, in the echo voice of my grandparents, reaching for this little bit of something, a red thread to lead me back to a belonging, to a home in the scattered outer realms of an eroding empire. The archivist taps me. She tells me I cannot put my whole self into the archive. I leave the waters of the map dripping, tempest in the sockets of my eyes, the face of Sycorax tattooed on my neck, an eel in one hand, a thunderbolt in the other, and the lessons of Caliban and cursings chanting in my ear. I'm splayed across the table, an octopus, all tentacles. She tells me I cannot put my whole self into the archive. I ask her why not. It's deeper and warmer than the American mythology that I have been wading in all of my life. She laughs. Back in 2008, I believe I want pages, a writing life, and I abandoned almost all of what I own to become a literary orphan. I was wrong. I desired blood, devil's grass and salt water in my veins. I am holding a map that is worth more than the commodified values of my whole lot, meaning my family and my legacy. And in the archive, I am holding the curated histories, and in my body, I am holding several empires tethered together by a bridge called my back, holding children in my arms, in my womb and at my knees, holding open my hands, waiting for the children and the lovers that were taken from me to return, holding the recipes whispered to me so that I may remember how to call on the first gods to intercede on my situations, on my behalf, inhaling and holding the aromas of future, exhaling all that I do not to have this space in the archive. This is where I begin to question, what is the weight of the weft of this dollar? My skin begins to itch, and I stare into the bloodlines of a quarter and coined currency. It feels like someone has peppered it. I know a ball of fire is in my throat. Is it inflicted by a wound, or is it from the ridged surface of a coin? I prayed to know my ancestors. I wish to inherit the aerial powers of Elijah or another Sukyon. These days, I have an instinct for danger. I am in a stasis of fight or flight. I don't want to be owned in body or memory. I want to burn the archive. I don't light a match. Maybe should I just? I don't light a match. I run my burning finger across my family name. I trace where the land meets the ocean. I question which bays have turtles and if the others have dolphins. I remember the seahorses I used to catch in drinking glasses when I was a little girl. I imagine them in their 1622 size, nearly 7 feet. I am sure my ancestral playmates looked like dragons beneath the waves to anyone on the ship. I wonder if these men understood that seahorse fathers are the ones that carry around their young. Being of empire, can they conceive a life where mothers busy themselves with the business of the ocean? Thanks. I want to call up into the mic Ife Paul Azino.
Sometimes in South Africa, you get killed just for being Nigerian. Almost like Lagos, where you die waving a green and white flag, choking on the national anthem. On October 20, 2020, an uncertain number of young people were shot dead by the police for asking to stop being shot dead by the police. Unable to count our dead, we rely on the sound of their absences to gauge our loss. The vague idea of what it means to be Nigerian sharpens into clarity, and it's the broken dance of a metamorphosis, butterfly wings eaten by time. I stay home more than I go out these days. Still locked down in my anxieties, I am painting or becoming on the platoon of wine bottles stacked in ardent rows on my kitchen counter. Lagos is a city underwater, governed by pirates with more money than you'll ever see. They make libraries out of the souls of their philosophers and fill them with lies. Wow. A delegation of politicians arrived the country's capital with money and guns to cast votes on live television, and they choose by blood. Who can spill more of it? I FaceTime my girlfriend in America and run commentary, impressed by how deep my knowledge bleeds into the dark like a lost archive of vanishing schools. A new diaspora forms on the fraying margins of fraying hopes. Urban congregations dancing to Wizkid in London and retrieving the bronze spirits of our ancestors from Berlin. My 11-year-old daughter is writing a book of stories and she has no vocabulary for shame. The new world is light on her tongue. We lived through the wreckage of General Buhari's second coming, but there are never any guarantees in Nigeria. So we recoil into soil and trust the defiance of flowers. Thank you. The sudden Russian urge to pee. Opening for Plantation Boys on Ogidon Street. I think this is about me starting a band in my early 20s. I wander back to the streets that gave me music, to the large stone bench that grew out of the ground. Sitting on its nose, I learned to roll a joint, surrounded by friends who loved me dearly and picked my pockets when I wasn't looking. Petty thieves I only remember now as socialists. My first broken nose, my first knife fight, the language of Fela's trumpet stoking the insides of my early rebellion. I formed the band in my early 20s and we played right here in the secret gardens of hell. Tenement years the government forgot about, so we drew constitutions from Bob Marley songs and governed ourselves. And God, Festus could hold a note. Voice light as his brother's ghost hovering between the Semi-Badagry border, we boarded his dysphoria and traveled far from the static of our homes. The roads are still uneven after all these years, tortured by rain, Japanese SUVs, and neglect. The blue and white wooden restaurant run by a middle-aged Calabar man, simply known as manager, still sits overlooking the streets like a falling cloud stained by sin. It was here I first learned what to do with all the words my father never sent to me. Obika drumming the wooden table, so skinny you could hear his bones rattle a percussive hunger that belied his rhythm. Stoners from the streets would pour in to cheer us on. The Plantation Boys broke out on radio a year after, and I formed a new band and followed the descent to Festac, a federal housing estate built in the late 70s to house musicians and artists of the Second World Festival of Black Art and Culture. It was only fitting Afrobeats would find the beginnings of a voice here. But I buried mine years after under the pews of a church, songs and songs away from the streets that raised me, and the band dissolved into time. But I'm finally learning how to speak with my son, unsure if it was God or music that saved me. Wow. And let our voices ring, soft and strong. A million rainbow tongues pushing our songs through the wind. Let our stories dance out in step with the moon. Let them boom from settlements in Soweto. Rise through the sprawls of Cairo, straddle the contradictions of Lagos. Let them tell of sweat and fear, of backs bent to carry dreams too heavy for legs to bear, of old men whose visions of the future tie us to the past. Let our voices come accompanied by djembes, talking drums, and all that jazz. Let our stories speak of sex, of probing tongues and grinding thighs against the Nairobi heat, of love that rises from the ashes of the feet in Kigali. And this is who we are, children of histories punctuated by conferences, divided by cartographers in Berlin, defended by storytellers in Makerere, united by this struggle to prove and be something more than the soft underbelly of a world perched on the edge of a knife. And time and again, it is to these voices we turn, to remind us that we get past the pain, that we have once chiseled out beauty from mountains of self-doubt, and through the dark tunnels of despair, these stories will lead us out in Twi, in Swahili, in Yoruba, whatever the languages of our imaginations, that our voices never stop ringing. Let our feet dance up spirits. Let our pens conjure the ancient wisdoms of the ancestors, excavate memories to find the civilizations we built before the barbarians barged through the door. Because we are a people too, a universe of multiple dreams written into history, written out of war, written to the sound of thunder, written by a million rainbow voices that never stop ringing. Thank you. Thank you. And just one more poem. I bring you greetings from Lagos, Nigeria. It's been such an honor and such a joy to be here. And yeah, just the constellation of poets. It's been overwhelming in a good way. And this final poem is dedicated to the entire team of Furious Five and all the amazing poets I have had the honor and pleasure of meeting in the last couple of days. And this is for the storytellers, watchers at the temple of language, those whose heads brush against the sun, whose hearts weave tales from our laughter and spin our sorrows into songs. This is for the dreamers who first spoke today's cliches, hunched over blank papers, peering into the empty pages of computer screens like crystal balls, waiting for the spirits to whisper, those who have mostly found truth in sadness, breathing windows to the soul of the human condition. This is for those navigating silences, who need solitude to breathe, who refuse peace and quiet in the face of injustice, who chose gulags when the only option of freedom were in cities under jackboots, those who smuggled out their truths on toilet paper and wrote back from exile, telling us there was a country, its dream aborted under half of a yellow sun. Where would we be without the poets who showed us the path of thunder and unraveled the house of hunger? But weep not, child, the beautiful ones are not yet born. This is for the post-colonial pens, writing rainbows across a dark sky and eclipsing single stories. Those who pitch their voices against the noise, frame a new age with language, paint a better world for themselves and for us, giving nothing but alphabets. Pay no mind to the rumors, the stories are still alive in books, in bits and bytes, in the conscience of a world dancing to the rhythm of its own delusions. This right here is for the tribe, for those who come out of their heads to drink at festivals, who still write to convince parents they can be something better than lawyers, who still write because the urge is stronger than death. And this is for the last ones left, recipients of the torch, pouring sentences to keep the flame burning. Those who do this for something more than prizes, who write past rejection letters. As long as the universe holds, there will be stories to tell. And this is for the tellers, for the chosen and the few, for the tested and the true, for the howlers at the moon, for those gathered here tonight in this room, my tribe. This one is for you. Thank you. The next poet is a true hero to so many of us, and it's such an honor to introduce the great Merle Collins.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Furious Flowerings. I have my work cut out for me to add my stories to these. Tonight, the poems that I will read celebrate Louise Little, the mother of Malcolm X. In the autobiography of Malcolm X, Malcolm writes, Louise Little, my mother, who was born in Grenada in the British West Indies, looked like a white woman. Her father was white. She had straight black hair, and her accent did not sound like a Negro's. Of this white father of hers, I know nothing except her shame about it. She told me that she had never seen him. So there are so many stories in there. I found myself researching Louise Little, going to her village in La Digue. The poems that I will read tonight celebrate that journey and come from the second part of the book, Ocean Stirrings, where the character Ocean, ocean, is really the character representing Louise Little, and especially for the poems in those not the last 24 years of her life, but during 24 years of her life when she was in a mental institution in Michigan. No one will answer me. 1939, the year in which social services took her to the institution. I told you what my name is and that I was born in Grenada. I keep asking to be free, but no one will answer me. Yes, I have 8 children. I've said they are my life. Don't ask me the same damn questions over and over again. I would not in a cage be shut, though it of gold should be. I love best in the woods to sing and fly from tree to tree. Wow. She's also remembering at this time rhythms from her colonial primary school texts, the Royal Readers. My name. And again, this is from that early period, 1939 to 1940. Norton, that's my name. I said my last name was Little. I need to add something. It is actually Norton Little. Norton. I give the white father's name. I hope it helped to set me free. It must be good for something. Who knows? The name might be the key. A bossy name, I don't know. Is whiteness of the father a boast? I need whatever might help. I don't want grief. I'm already lost. Love not to talk, love not to boast. Grief comes to him who brags the most. This poem is called The Tea That They Give, and it's from a later period in the asylum when Ocean, representing Louise Little, is trying to understand what is going on with her. I am sleepy again. What they're giving me? They're giving me something. Did I sleep yesterday? Something is broken. Something break. Ikakase. Something not right. Perhaps the tea that they give make me sleep. Or that medication they always shoving down my throat. I spit it out, but I can't spit out the injection that they joking my body with. What are they feeding me? It make me shake. My face feeling numb, my arms hurting. Something is happening. Something happening inside my head. I don't understand. I'm not sick. I am. Where is my grandmother? Ma, where are you, Ma? I will sleep. I will sleep. They say I'm not sleeping. Perhaps they're making me sleep. Perhaps they're making me sleep. This next poem is from a little later in the text. It's now the 1950s, and she is still in the asylum. My children get big, and they find out I remember from long ago that finding out is a thing you must do. They find out that Judge Leland Carr signed to get us off the property in 1929. It is because you are a negress, Mom. We were a Negro family, they say. Negro, negress, Negro children, a negress. And my husband, you see, he was a Negro. That was the thing that killed him, they say. It killed some of his brothers too, this being a Negro. So we could not legally occupy property in the white Westmont area in Michigan. That's why the judge was making sure to throw us off the land. We couldn't legally live in the places where they live. And that same judge, they tell me, was the one that get me committed. He tell the authorities that I'm mad, and he find a doctor that agree, judge and doctor, judge and jury. But my son tell me, all of them listening. Keep quiet, he say, keep quiet, but take it easy in there. They still have to agree, so do what they say, Emma, and take it easy. Our children are listening. Our children will fight with that word legal one day. Are remembering the past and are seeing the future. They are listening. Mightn't be tomorrow, but look for me in the whirlwind. They are listening. And this poem, 1908 and 1950s, Memories at Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo is a psychiatric hospital in Michigan. Good morning, nurse. I'm just here talking things through, not troubling anybody, and I don't need any needles in my body, thank you very much. I won't give any trouble. No, leave me alone. Just talking. I remember from a Royal Reader book that Chatham didn't hide it. Long time ago, Lord Chatham says straight out in the book who he was concerned and not concerned about. And after all this time, no change. I must remind the children, be careful. The profits of this country were never meant to be for them. They had to fight for it because it is their country. But good morning, nurse. I'm just here talking things through, not troubling anybody, and I don't need any needles in my body, thank you very much. I won't give any trouble. No, leave me alone. Just talking. Leave me alone. It's hard. It's hard, yes, but I must remember what the children telling me. And 2 more poems. This is the 1960s. The children took her out of the asylum finally in 1963. This poem is called They Stole My Life. Now my children explain to me, I realize that these people stole my life. That is why I could feel those empty spaces inside my head. Why all the time I was feeling so tied up, so full of vexation with these people around me. I could feel I was in a strange place with people that kidnapped me, but I wasn't remembering exactly how it happened. They stole my life. They say I'm mad and they drug me. That is a dangerous thing. They could burn down your house, take your land, drag you from your house, put you in a madhouse prison. The children tell me to keep quiet still and concentrate on getting out. Keep your own counsel. I remember that word from a long, long time. Keep your own counsel. They explained it to me. I wasn't mad. Postpartum is something my daughter saying. Just had baby. And that is another story. Other botheration, food, plenty frustration, war, money, officials that thieving, things bad, and I need support. And I need time to catch myself. But I wasn't mad. That is what my children saying they know. These people, they stole my life. The clan, the judge, the children keep asking, they tell me for them to release me. But they're saying I'm mad. Year after year after year, they're saying I'm mad. The judge that commit me, my children thinking, was the same judge that worked on the case to take the land. He and his people, they commit me to madhouse. I tell you, they stole my life. Whether they're in clan costume or out of clan costume, same people, same people. I will stay quiet so I could get out of here because it's still not me in charge. But they stole my life. Volé, thief. They thief my life. And the final poem. And here she goes back to one of the colonial poems, one of the poems from her primary school books that a watchful teacher was, helping her through. Little Wheel and Big Wheel, 1960s. Says the big wagon wheel to the little wagon wheel. What a difference between us I see. As our course we pursue, can a small thing like you keep up with a great thing like me? Me? I am royalty. Even if I have to whisper it to me because they will say I am delusional, I'm royalty. Says the little wagon wheel to the big wagon wheel, you are larger, I own, my good friend. But my quickness supplies what I want in my size, so I keep in the front to the end. Don't afraid for me now. I keep it in the front to the end. Yes, I'm laughing. I tell you, use the old lines, learn the rhythm and the feeling, make them your own, change and reshape them. I'm going out of this place. As my grandmother would say, if you live long enough and just have patience, you go see inside ant's belly. Adebude fumi, langepida, tongue and teeth, I tell you, you live and you learn. Sometimes the lesson's hard, but you learn. From when those who don't like you, even when those who don't like you think the story is theirs, make it yours. Make it yours. I have my children's hand to hold on to now, and keep in the front to the end. I tell you, I keep it in the front till the end. Thank you. Thank you. And Furious Flower, please help me to welcome Danez Smith.
somewhere, a sun. Below, boys brown as rye play the dozens and ball, jump in the air and stay there. Boys become new moons, gum dark on all sides, beg bruised blue water to fly, at least tide, at least spit back a father or two. I won't get started. History is what it is. It knows what it did. Bad dog, bad blood, bad day to be a boy, color of a July well spent. But here, not earth, not heaven, we can't recall our white shirts turn ruby gowns. Here, there's no language for officer or law, no color to call white. If snow fell, it'd fall black. Please don't call us dead, call us alive, someplace better. We say our own names when we pray. We go out for sweets and come back. No need for geography now, we're safe everywhere. Point wherever you please and call it church or home or sweet love. Paradise is a world where everything is sanctuary and nothing is a gun. Here, if it grows, it knows its place in history. Yesterday, I climbed up a poplar who told me stories of forests full of fruit that I call uncle, bursting red pulp and set afire, a harvest of dark wind chimes, and after I fell, it kissed sap into my wounds. Do you know what it's like to live someplace that loves you back there? I drowned back before, once there. I knew how to swim, but couldn't. There, men stood by shore and watched me blue. There, I was a dead fish, the river's prince. There, I had a face, and then I didn't. There, my mother cried over me, open casket, but I wasn't there. I was here by my own water, singing a song I learned somewhere south of somewhere worse, but that was when direction mattered. Now, everywhere I am is the center of everything. I must be the Lord of something. What was I before? A boy, a son, a warning, a myth? I whistled. Now, I'm the god of whistling. I built my Olympia downstream, and you're not welcome here. Go home. We earned this paradise by a death we didn't deserve. And I'm sure that there are other heres, a somewhere for every kind of somebody, a heaven of brown girls braiding on golden stoops. But someone prayed we'd rest in peace. And here we are, in peace, whole, all summer. I am nervous out of my mind. I know, nerves, it's okay, like not nervous, like I'm gonna do good, but like, but it means I care. My heart feels like it has grown tenfold with you all, which means my possibility has grown tenfold with you all. My future has grown tenfold. Dr. Lauren, are you a doctor?
Go back. I'ma say it. Okay, Miss Lauren and Dr. Miss Joanne, thank you both so much for this space. I've never felt anything like this. All right, this next poem is from my barber. It's after the incredible Angel Nafis. Day Day was the last person I came out to. Why did I long to leave the man I wasn't, uncomplicated beneath your blade? In that brief weekly Mecca, I wanted nothing to mark me but the edge of your sheer cutting horizon above my brow. Our romance of money and mirrors, we trade coins for beauty and peace. In the time rich forever of this shedding place, the million doors to this heaven we attend to be tapered and grown. I didn't want my facts to become the news, nor the closeness it takes for a man to square a man into grace, to be soured by desire, or gods, or traditions that leave my kind unloved, unhoused, unknown by clippers, raggedy and unbrothered. Day Day, I wasn't a man. I was your clay, afraid of being banished from your hands. Loose me not from this uncled oasis where I rather be misnamed than uncounted. I curved the men I kiss into vague women in that chair, stretched my life so thin you could cut it with a whisper. I knew the world had sharpened and accrued its jagged disciplines. I knew the world and needed this one place in it, not to be it. But then, you found my poems. And then you cut my hair. Peace and quick freedom to our brothers and sisters and our children in Palestine. May their freedom come urgently and swiftly. I'm gonna read this poem that I need your help on. So when I point at you, you're gonna say Free Palestine, okay? So let's try that. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! You got it, all right. It's called Poem. It starts with an epigraph from our dear and missed June Jordan from Moving Towards Home. I was a black woman and now I am become a Palestinian against the relentless laughter of evil. There is less and less living room. And where are my loved ones? He calls them the children of darkness. And being one myself, having been plucked from between stars, having been born again in the dark, dark bellies of those ships delivered as cargo into the suffocating mouth of America, I find my kin. Human animals, he called them. And having been ape, been dog, been mongrel, cattled and cold, I knew who was my brother. This late in empire, late meaning near its end, not near its completion. Let my language be clear and dangerous as water. Let my mind's tongue move sound, be exact where venom is intended and where light sought. Animals. He called them animals. Said the birds, said the fish, said the mice, said the mountain lions louder, said the cattle, said the wolves, said the horses, said the bats louder, said the elephants, said the deer, said the squirrels, said the bears louder, said Said the wildebeest. Said the geckos. Said the snakes. Said the dogs and cats louder. Said the bees. Said the spiders. Said the ants. Said the rhinoceros. The birds again. Oh, nature. I hear your prayer. I see your terror. I know my teeth. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Y'all sit on down now. You know we're running late. We colored. All right, come on. All right. Coming up next to this stage, please welcome the beautiful, the incredible, the irreplicable Tara Betts.
Good evening, everybody. I gotta gather myself real quick. Thank you, Dr. Gabin, for letting roundabouts like me come here 20 years ago. Thank you, Lauren, for bringing us all together in all our very beautiful faces and voices. Thank you to the ASL interpreters who dance with their hands. Thank you to all of you who make it happen. Thank you to the poets in the audience, the poets on the stage, and the poets who were here before us, who I feel them here. I feel them. And with that as a start, I heard C.K. Williams read once before he died, and he had a poem called Foundation. And when he read that poem, before he got to the end, I knew immediately I would write a response. Furious Flower is the perfect place to read that. Canon, after C.K. Williams' Foundation. Listen, I'm ready. Listen. I'm lightning, I'm fused. The cannon I used to run from has been seized. I'm aiming, wielding, backhanded, scrawling against guns, stocks, mouths of muzzles, grape shot, and other deliberate arms, or intentional, for real. If you look at repetition fiercely, here, for instance, this heavy cannonball is Audre Lorde, and this heat of missiles, Baldwin. The resolve in my eyes, also in my blood, in skin of mine, always in my eyes. Neruda and Coleman, Cisneros and Sexton and Rich, all stockpiled near the cannon that I've been maneuvering around so long that now I know its strategies. Calculate, anticipate, diffuse, dodge the spray of fusillade triggered by my modest grenade when I pull the pin and let its language roll across the maps of Catholicism and Buddhism and gospel and Sun Tzu, and even whose tenets I traced out. I know why. I kept caring. I kept protecting heads from the blasts, Orishas, meditations, ancestors, Hagakure, and saints. Listen again here, because I ain't never alone in the light. Being a fuse, I'm with my poets. My Hayden, my Wheatley, we're scribbling through the valleys, a stockpile of beauty, and my Hughes hovers above it all. My Baraka and my Kaufman, my Cortez, my Jordan and Sean Gay are rising above it. My hip-hop, Shakespeare, Whitman, Plath, McKay, they were all zinging and singing in the distance. I still sought the buried and omitted twice as much, and I knew it. But Hurston was there all along, and my call and response and my praise poem and my scat there with all their armor, which is why I glow through the chaos of everything. The rationales and refutations, the counter story, black and white, all I know as meanings are merely degrees, not absolutes. When for real, it was the peace, the polyphony, the calm, the laying down of guns for the resonant rhythm in words. Listen, I am still lit. I'm ready to aim at the lies, the justifications, the saboteurs, the fire. My poets stand with me, my virtuosos, my vibes, verb slingers, pulling out poems from flames, and their voices, the barricade. Thanks to poets like Cherie Renee Thomas, black science fiction writers like Samuel Delany and Octavia Butler and Victor LaValle, I was open to Lovecraft Country. And the movie, the book, it just couldn't leave my head. And I was in a park on the south side walking with my best friend. And I wrote this poem. The Garden of the Phoenix and Lovecraft Country, Chicago, 2020. A Japanese garden nestled against Lake Michigan with its bridges and pagodas and arranged stones produce no skeletons, tentacles, Cthulhu or Chagas covered with blinking eyes shunning the light. Instead, warm suns run its fingers along my arms. Intermittent shade and a soft breeze twist some sort of cool out of the late August afternoon. I am finding my footing in Hyde Park, Washington Park, Woodlawn, where manicured serenity offers me paths and a sign that notes this garden began in 1936, before cancer wrapped its claws around H.P. Lovecraft like one of his horrors, before the author of Lovecraft Country was born or able to summon the ghost of a writer who coined an epithet as a cat's name. Some have always said it, others sidestepped, then substituted 2 syllables with N-word. We walk to find some sort of middle-aged endurance and laugh with talk of science fiction, how teachers draw on everything they know, and Lovecraft Country, with scenes on the south side we know, where masks now keep viral terror at bay. We laugh about Atticus, not Finch, Uncle George and Letitia Lewis facing down children of the night, the opening of ancient portals, collapsing mansions and ancestral ghosts, and none of them seem more horrifying than mapping green books of living black lives in a stopped car, a car full of men chasing you with rifles and rope or being dragged into the dark woods. Not one monster is scarier than a sheriff with a gun, a badge, too much authority, and a name for you and yours. I say no, nothing is scarier than that. And we walk back to the car, how black fingers cling to the edge of the city as we drive home before sundown in this damned and beloved town where Southside transforms into a code like alien or race. Okay. I'm gonna close with 2 older poems, but 1 more new one. I said this was my challenge. New shit. The editor wanted to call this Vessel, and I said, no, I like Pink Matter, because Frank Ocean. So he makes a cameo in this poem. Pink Matter. Sitting in a dive bar with an ancient wood counter, dark antique shelves stocked with bottles, R&B songs wheedling about craving, a yearning, a pleading, each hunger laid upon a body, desires leaking from a glossy mouth. Not just a lip of a container, but a glass, a canister, a uterus waiting for a flag to be planted, waiting to welcome white wriggling tails embedding in the porous orb. No one asks what a brain is made for, as if it's just a jar of thoughts, until I hear that soft pink matter roll past Frank Ocean's full lips. Then I hear him question the mind as confinement, woman as more than slick entrance for a man's desire, her body and his desire, both their own sorts of traps. So few faces, and sometimes none, know the tumult within the arch and ebb of hormones to carry a flesh vase balanced deep inside, delicate, festooned with simple fallopian stems blooming into dwindling ova. So few white-haired men in lies and ties ever give a damn that they emerge like shiny green shoots unfurling from their mothers decades ago. So few women sit anywhere near chairs or microphones where the laws are signed and the judges stuff their ears with cotton and money to stifle the protesters' shouts and the ghost screams of girls slaughtered by coat hangers and greedy incompetence. Frank Ocean croons, "What is your woman?" She is, or he is, not just a container. She enacts sacrifice where choices may no longer be hers alone. She hopes you see her thinking, feeling, personhood. No law changes how her soft pink matter is a layer, not just your favorite part, not the lacy curse foisted upon newborn girls, not the color lining her mouth or her most private and least protected places. A woman's body is no river held back by gates or levees. She is not the forest preserve, fenced, untouched. She is not to be cut down, her torso chopped and plain smoothed by a hardware chain. No, her body is not a factory to replenish the populace. Soft pink matter links to the mind over matter, and law cannot change that any more than my determination to stare into the bottom of the glass, a vessel I'll never be. You know, I get tired of white audiences that want us to write about Black death and the police killing us, and then they don't talk about all the other ways that not just capitalism or the police are killing us, but how we kill each other. So I thought about, the first image that came to mind was a baton falling on a body. And then I said, well, hell, if the baton don't kill you, the poison in the air will. And then I said, okay, there's the poem. Think. Think about the air invisible as it uncurls a wave of toxins. Think about how its fingertips trace the skin as a baton falls on the flesh merely seconds later. Think about heavy metals brown the water, and we are told, drink. Think about how many of us wonder when the roofs over our heads will be tongues evicted from the languages of home. Think about how every person needs a doctor, but everyone doesn't get one. Think about how savings mean nothing to the crazy fine print circumscribed like obsolete hieroglyphs. Think how the law books fall open and hopscotch for anyone who keeps writing checks. Think like Aretha Franklin, belting what you trying to do to me. Think how the law keeps shuffling the numbers to fit some constant where acknowledging who is human is posited in some philosophy or some mathematical equation that pretends that logic is its function. When blood needs to find something superior, something that denies how human is defined by a much wider net, maybe cast by some divine fisherman or perhaps an African goddess in a gown laced with sea foam. But place markers for faith are constantly moving towards the crucifix. A human can find more than one path, I hope. Think about how every day someone is hoping for some simple thing, like fresh bread lightly toasted, the ability to walk without pain, a chance to shower, a moment free of fist and jeer, a moment singing victorious, as if we could level the wrongs and leave the world upright, like a gospel-drenched woman singing freedom, freedom after forgiveness, after you change your mind, because you need to think and act to be free. I close with this short poem. I was a little mad. I'm always mad at Kanye. But one of the good things he did during the pandemic was he drew attention to Gwendolyn Brooks' poem, Speech to the Progress Toward, which if you heard it on TikTok, you know this line that opens the poem. Are you ready? Even if you're not ready for the day, it cannot always be night. Gwendolyn Brooks. Even if you're not ready for anything black, it cannot always be white. I'm glad y'all get it. You know, I've read it other places. Even if you're not ready for the women, it cannot always be the men. And even if you're not ready for the spectrum, no, it cannot always be a binary. And even if you're not ready for the poor, it cannot always be the rich. And even if you ain't ready for the thickness, it can't always be a bone. And even if you're not ready for the fight, it cannot always be the dance. And even if you're not ready for the dance, it can't always be the fight. And even if you're not ready to begin, it cannot always be the end. Thank you. Okay, let me get it together, because this is one of those moments where I want to call up my black grandparents and be like, Grandma, you know what happened? So, all right. Without further ado, I am so honored to bring up one of our statesmen. Please welcome A.B. Spellman.
Statesman, huh? You know, I've got poems that are older than some of your grandparents. And I've been a lot of places and done a lot of things. I've never been in a better room than this in my entire life. This is not pandering, not exaggerating. It is just this chill feeling. I'm sort of goosebumpy, and it's all about love. And power to you, good people. In 1967, I left Lower Manhattan and went down to the South to read poems at historically black colleges. Somebody got in a grant. And I went to Atlanta, and I met a woman who was the head of research for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. And they only went back to New York to pick up my stuff and go back. And I've been married to that woman, the great Karen Edmonds, since then. We need SNCC today, well, something like it. We need SDS, we need the Panthers, we need all of that. And I don't know how it happens in the age of the internet, but it's got to happen. When black people are with each other, we sometimes fear ourselves and whisper over our shoulders about unmentionable acts. And sometimes we fight and lie. These are some things we sometimes do. And when alone, I sometimes walk from wall to wall, fighting visions of white men fighting me, and black men fighting white men and fighting me, and I lose myself between walls and ricocheting shots and can't say for certain who I have killed or been killed by. It is the fear of winter passing and summer coming and the killing I have called for coming to my door saying, "Hit it, AB. You're in it too." And the white army moves like thieves in the night, mass producing beautiful black corpses and then stealing them away. And I'm cooking my food and oiling my gun while my frequent death watches me on Cronkite from Orangeburg. But I remember driving from Atlanta to Birmingham with Stone and Featherstone and Cleve. And Feather talked about dueling a pair of Klansmen. And Cleve told how they hunted the bodies of Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman in the haunted hours of the Silver Nights in the Mississippi swamp, while a runaway survivor from Orangeburg slept between wars on the back seat. Times like this are times when black people are with each other and the strength flows back and forth between us like borrowed breath. That poem obviously is from 1967. I meant to give you the glosses in front. You might remember Orangeburg is Orangeburg, South Carolina, where South Carolina State College is, and you know all the killings at Kent State, which are so often talked about, or so were so often talked about, but that happened a lot on black campuses. State troopers coming up, firing on students in demonstration, killing a lot of them, and that's what that was about. On another note, this poem is called Groovin' Low. Now, the jazz lovers in the room will recognize the title as being a play on I see Ethelbert grinning, a play on bebop composition of Dizzy Gillespie's called Groovin' High. Whatever Dizzy was talking about, this poem is about aging. My swing, let me say this. The weird words in the second stanza are patterns of the drum. I didn't make them up. Okay, grooving low. My swing is more mellow these days. Not the hard bop drive I used to roll, but more of a cool foxtrot. My eyes still close when the rhythm locks. I've learned to boogie with my feet on the floor. I'm still moving, still grooving, still falling in love. I bop to the bass line now. The trap set paradiddles, ratamucus, and flams that used to spin me in place still set me off. But I bop to the bass line now. I enter the tune from the bottom up and let trumpet and sax wheel above me. So, don't look for me in the treble. Don't look for me in the fly staccato splatter of the hot young horn. No. You'll find me in the nuance, hanging out in inflection and slur. I'm the one executing the half-bent dip and the slow, slow drag with the smug little smile and the really cool shades. I've had a lot of friends who wrote tell-all memoirs, an imperative I have never understood. I begged one woman to leave me out of hers. I said, we had a brief casual fling 45 years ago. It would be 65 years ago now. I said, it's nice of you to remember. But we did not make history. So, I've written this poem. It's called The Women I Have Not Slept With. I'm telling you, all the scholars in the room, every word of this poem is true. They number in the billions, and that's if I only count the living. For example, I have not slept with Sarah Palin. And not because she shoots large mammals for fun. No, I have not slept with her because she's too far right and I'm too far left, and that's just too much miscegenation to arouse. Nor have I slept with Hillary Clinton. I had a shot at Hillary, and I have the photograph to prove it. That's me shaking hands with her, head cocked to the left, a mating signal in every primate male. And I thought I saw something in the curl of her mouth. But the crowd was pushing at my back there in the gold room, and I couldn't make my move. But we'll see, we'll see. I have not slept with Madonna. Now, before you get the impression that I've only not slept with white women, I haven't slept with Oprah either. No fault of hers, no fault of mine. We just never hooked up. Nor have I slept with Vanessa Williams. Now that one hurts. She once split from a sexual fantasy I was having. Took one look at my admittedly adipose body and disappeared from my fantasy and wouldn't come back. Broke my tumescent heart. I have not slept with Madonna again. And then there's Shaka Khan. Sweet, sweet, sweet Shaka, the lust of my life. I did get to hug her once, a nice belly-to-belly rub. But my boss was in the room and nothing came of it. She sent me a box of chocolates. If I have not slept with you and didn't mention you, please don't be offended. I thought you deserved your own poem. All right. This is the title poem of the book that many of you have bought. I thank you for that. Called Between the Night and Its Music. It's rather dense, so try to pay attention. Between the night and its music is the shadow. Between the music and the night is the song. Between the song and the music is the voice. Between the voice and the music is the self. Between the self and its song is the mind. Between the mind and the song is the melody. Between the song and its melody is the rhythm. Between the rhythm and the melody is the mind. Between the mind and its song is the word. Between the word and the mind is the voice. Between the voice and the word is the thought. Between the thought and the voice is the self. Between the word and the self is the shadow. Between the shadow and the self is the light. Between the light and the word is the music. The song is the melody in the word, in the rhythm. The self holds the mind to the word and the thought of the song. The voice in the song sings the self to the mind. The light lights the shadow of the word and its melody. The rhythm moves the self through the dimming night song. The thought in the song is of night's shadows without music. I have two daughters. One is an oboist who got me a Grammy this year. My late 80s are swinging, I'm telling you that. I've never been this productive in my life. I'm more prolific than I've ever been. And, and I'm finding things everywhere without even looking. So, at any rate, so this composer, Jeff Scott, set several of my poems to music for wind quintet, string quartet, and jazz trio, and me. And that's what one is called. It's called Passion for Bach and Coltrane. Passion because their appointment there about the crucifixion and of Jesus, and such pieces are called passions if they're put in music. So at any rate, there is that. I just said that to advertise the record. Okay. But at any rate, I have two daughters. The other daughter turned out to be a minister. She was a good musician all the way through high school, but she thought she would like to live well, and music wasn't the way to do that. So she figured she'd go to Wall Street and get rich and retire at 35 and have a baby. But she got to Wall Street, and she was doing very well, got fast-tracked for the executives and all. Then she realized that this was not her culture, this was not her people, this was not her values, and she had to get out of there. And she wound up being a minister. So if any of you people live in New York and you're looking for a church, check out Park Avenue Christian Church. Like I said, she decided she wanted to live well, so she got a Park Avenue church. But it's a very progressive church of no particular racial identity, and real good place. But anyway, the point of it is that I had written a poem for the musician daughter, which is easier to do than writing a poem for the Wall Street daughter. And she was always very jealous about that. She hated that, as sisters will. So I finally wrote a poem for her. It's called Oriki. When an infant is born among the Yoruba, the first sound it hears, other than its own complaint, is that of an elder who tells it the history of the family and gives the infant its secret name, its name of power. And that ceremony is called an Oriki. The form, however, is Welsh. It's an instrument form at iambic octameter, and you have to use a word from the previous line in the next line, and it gives it a nice propulsion. I think I got the form right, except I think I'm a line short. Okay, Oriki. Into your ear I sing a name, and from that name there runs a line. And on that run, ancestors chant, the elders dance, they build to you. From their mantra a rose exhales, a summer scent to cover you. Within you there uncoils the line, woman to man, to first made child, to horizons beyond my sight, where settling light enwraps the cold. And in that light, two hungry souls combine to sing your name. And in that love, their love, in that light, their love makes you. Then from you there combusts a shout. Around their shout there turns a ring. A stomp propounds a jubilee. In jubilee the ancients teach, a people rise, a people fall. We rise and fall, and each new mind will sculpt the shape of all the world. You have that force. It fires your mind. It fires your smile. It fires your fury. It fires the song I sing to you. That you can be is miracle enough for me. Wow. And I shall close with, I guess this is my funeral poem. I don't expect to have it anytime soon. In fact, I'll read new poems for you at the next Furious Flower. I'll be a swinging 99 then. This is called After Vallejo. I will die in Havana in a hurricane. It will be morning. I'll be facing southwest, away from the Gulf, away from the storm, away from home, looking toward the virid hills of Matanzas, where the Orisha rise, lifted by congueros in masks of iron, bongoceros in masks of water, timbaleros in masks of fire, by all the clave that binds the rhythms of this world. I'll be writing when I go, revising another hopeful survey of my life. I will die of nothing that I did, but of all that I did not do. I promised myself a better self than I could make, and I will not forgive. You will be there, complaining that I never saved you, that I left you where you live, stranded in your own green dream. When you come for me, come singing. No dirge, but scat my eulogy in bebop code. Sing that I died among gods, but lived with no God, and did not suffer for it. Find one true poem that I made, and sing it to my shade as it fades into the wind. I will die in Havana in rhythm. Tumbao, Montuno, Guaguanco, dense strata of rhythm pulsing me away. And the mother of waters will say to the saint of crossroads, well, damn. He danced his way out after all. There's so much love here. God, I love it. I love love. Now, for more love, let's get another tessitura in the harmonious choir, Miss Lorna Gunderson.
My great-grandmother was a Guinea woman, wide eyes turning the corners of her face, could see behind her. Her cheeks dusted with a fine rash of jet bead warts that itched when the rain set up. My great-grandmother's waistline was the span of a headman's hand. She was slender and tall like a cane stalk, with a Guinea woman's antelope quick walk. And when she paused, her gaze would look to sea. her profile fine like some obverse impression on a guinea coin from royal memory. And now it seems her fate was anchored in that unfathomable sea, for my great-grandmother caught the eye of a sailor whose ship sailed without him from Lucy Harbor. My great-grandmother's royal scent of cinnamon and scallions drew the sailor up the Straits of Africa. And the evidence is my blue-eyed grandmother, the first mulatto, taken into Bacchus' household and covered with his name. And they forbade my grandmother's Guinea woman presence. They washed away her scent of cinnamon and scallions. They controlled the child's antelope walk, and they called her uprisings rebellions. But great-grandmother, I see your features, blood dark appearing in the children of each new breeding, and the high yellow-brown is darkening down. Listen, children, it's your great-grandmother's turn. Some things you do not know about me. When I'm alone, I drink from a saucer. I eat with my fingers and I never wear shoes. For 7 years, I drank my morning tea from the same cup. It was a rich brown like bitter chocolate and stippled with white dots all over its round surface, except around the rim, where my constant drinking had washed those dots away. And I think I may have swallowed them. Because some nights I feel like 1 trillion punctuation periods are just swarming inside me, waiting to attach themselves to the ends of my unwritten lines and sentences. But that is not the most important thing about me. You see, what I've never told you is that I am really a dancer. When I'm alone, when nobody's watching, you should see me dancing. Sometimes it's my dance of joy, like when I'm writing a poem and somehow it's all working. I am so happy that my feet just start to pump up and down like I'm playing a really big baritone pipe organ. And my hands fly to the keys and out like I'm pulling out music notes. And my feet are dancing. And if the poem is coming now straight and sure, no holding back as it heads for its union with the page, then I simply must take advantage and dance. So I throw my hands up over my head, thereby releasing the poem. And then I push the chair away, and for 10 minutes or so, I dance around the table. It's a whirling kind of dance I do. It makes my head spin, my particular form of dancing. Round and round the table I go, till my wild whirling shaves the edges of a square table, till I'm whirling now around a round table. And then I go so until I fall down, and wherever my feet are pointed, that is where I take the poem. Like this one. I'm just gonna have to take it east and play Bob Dylan, wondering if I might be in Tangier. Or I'll just light a stick of incense and take my own self there. And all this I do before I begin the evening's cooking. And when you come home, you find me placid, calm, normal. And those are only some of the things that you do not know about me. To make various sorts of black, according to the Craftsman's Handbook, chapter 37, Il Libro dell'Arte, by Cennino d'Andrea Cennini, who tells us there are several kinds of black colors. First, there's a black derived from soft black stone. It is a fat color, not hard at heart, more a stone unctioned. Then there's a black that is obtained from vine twigs, twigs that chose to abide on the true vine, offering up their bodies at the last to be burned. Then quenched and worked up, they can live again as twig of the vine black. Not a fat, more of a lean color, favored alike by vine dressers and artists. There's also the black that is scraped from burnt shells, markers of Atlantic's graves, black of scorched earth, of torch stones of peach, twisted trees that bore strange fruit. And then there's a black that is the source of light, from a lamp full of oil, such as any thoughtful guest waiting for bride and groom who cometh will have. A lamp you light and place underneath, not a bushel, but a good, clean, everyday dish that is fit for baking. No, you just bring the little flame of the lamp up under the surface of the earthenware dish, say a distance of about 2 or 3 fingers away. And the smoke that emits from that small flame will struggle up and strike at clay. Strike till it crowds and collects in a mess or a mass. No, wait. Please, wait a while, please. Before you sweep this color, which is now sable velvet soot, onto any old paper, or consign it to shadows, outlines, and backgrounds. Observe. It does not need to be worked up nor ground. It is just perfect as it is. Refill the lamp, Chanini says. As many times as the flame burns low, refill it. The road of the dread. That the road not paved like any other blackface road, it not have no definite color, and it fenced two sides with live barbed wire. And I look for no mileposts and measure your walking, and take no stone as dead or familiar. For sometimes you pass a thing that you know as, we'll call it a stone again, and snake ready for squeeze you, kill you, or as a dead man taking possessions, tease you. Then the place them you feel is resting place, because time before that you go there, you welcome like rain, go there again. Bad dog, bad face turn to drive you underground, where you don't have no light for walk. And many find who say them understand is only from them mouth them talk. One good thing though, that same treatment will make you walk untold distance. For to continue, you have to walk far away from the wicked. Upon the same road, my sister. Sometimes you drink your salt sweat for water, for you sure say at least that not poison. And bread, you picture it and you chew it accordingly. And sometimes you're surprised to know that full of one belly. And some days have no definite color. No beginning, no ending, it just them day or night, as how you feel to call it. Then why I tread it, brother? Well, my guy tell you about the day them, when the father sent some little bird that swallow flute for thrill me. And him instruct the sun for smile upon me first. And the sky calm like a sea when it sleep. And a breeze like a laugh follow me. And a one find a stream that pure like a baby mine. And the water just ease down your throat and quiet you inside. And better still, when you meet another traveler who have flour and you have water, and a one just make bread together. And them time there, the road just runs straight and sure, like a young horse that cannot tire. And you catch a glimpse of the end through the water in your eye. And I will not tell you what I spy, but it is for that alone that I tread this road. Wow. I'm so happy to be here. I cannot even tell you how happy I am to be here. I mean, the other night when you honored me, I just couldn't even talk, and everybody knows that I can talk. But I was struck dumb. My family would be amazed. It's the first time that I've ever been unable to talk. Thank you. Just thank you from my heart. And God bless you. Thank you. I was going to read enough. No, I'm just going to read. Sometimes on a day such as this, after 4 or 5 hours of medicinal silence, I am eased to this place, and I return home to myself, clean, stripped. I entered through the high blue door of myself, and I sit. Within this chamber of myself, loving you is as high a pleasure as I will ever get. See now my expanded self grow many arms, like a Hindu deity they issue from my side. On cue, connected, I glow. I become a living chandelier, swinging slightly with the light, because now you will pass beneath me. And one of my many lit fingers will thoughtfully circle the crown of your head, and it will glow. Halo. Inside me, I am never ashamed. I am whole and me, 1,000 errors, transmuted errors, now become iron and fed back into my blood. And I can hear a strong coursing through my veins in the silence. In the silence, my blood runs like the Tiber or the Black River. My body contains a body of strong, surging water. And I can hear it sometimes on a day such as this when I return home to myself after 4 or 5 hours of medicinal silence. This is my people are dying. These are 2 poems. One from my sister Barbara, who taught me much of what I know about writing. She was a journalist. And I'll tell you a nice story very quickly. When I was about 12, my sister came to the United States, and she worked on the newspaper in Ohio, and she met Langston Hughes. Yeah. And I think he was hitting on her because what he signed in the book was kind of really overmuch, oh, this love. Yeah, it was kind of, yeah, I think Langston was looking, all right? But anyway, she bought this book. It's called The Dream Keeper, and it's a very early edition, and she brought it home and she gave it to me. I still have it. I was going to bring it, but I thought if I lose it, then, yeah. So that's one of the many things she did for me. She introduced me to Langston Hughes' poetry when I was 12, and she gave me that book, and I still have it. It's called Threnody for Barbara. Mama got light cakes shaped like small shells from her cousin Madeline, who turned her hand to baking these delicacies, laced with honey and lemon. She served them on a side plate, set down by a vase massed with marigolds on her old dining table, spread with a cream damask tablecloth from better days. Porta-Pruno wine aglow in her last 2 unchipped wine glasses. A sweet mouth repast for the day you brought him to meet us. This is Jean. He is from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. His name must be pronounced Jean. In order to sound it right, you must glide it over your back teeth, then express it out of a half-open mouth. Jean est journaliste, on assignment to the Star newspaper, where you were star reporter. And when you left for the evening shift, I stood on a carton box and peeped from the upstairs window to see Jean pause at a gate, light a cigarette, pull in and release a smoke ring, and then a smoke veil, sheer as illusion tool. He draped one arm like love's banner across your shoulders. There was talk of marriage, you making a home in Haiti. Then came shop bulletins of Papa Doc and Tante Macoute. And did Jean flee to Paris, where he and his Creole parents owned a pied-à-terre in Paris, or was it a chateau en Provence? No more Jean. Time passed and you loved again, but now you're traveling. Will you want to stop over in France? For if you do, get a dainty honey and lemon cake, and that might bring you back to Jean at a gate, smoke ring and smoke veil, you'll pass through. Oh, mon sœur, my sister, pass through. And another poem from my brother, Threnody 3. My brother Nigel was a student activist at the Michigan State University in the 1970s, and it didn't work out very well for him. So this poem is me thinking about him going home as a, he was an athlete. He was a brilliant soccer player. Threnody 3 for Nigel. Slow jog towards the shade trees of far pavilions. You run on vapors from the roar of crowds when you scored goals on soccer fields those game days. On your move, past the stands where you exhorted the crowd, get up, stand up, and rally round your own black brothers. Mark the spot where they refused. You wonder if the journey homeward will take you through East Lansing, for you always hope to see her again, she with the skin the shade of sweet tea, nurse on a sugar tit, soaked in lightning and moonshine that gave her the habit. Magnetic, she fixed her lips to your mouth, then to your throat, and drank of your youth. Step in time past the bandstand, where a brass marching band on game days played pump-it-up songs. Recall an old rumba joke. Edmundo Rumba and his Ross Band. Here come the Temptations to replace cornet, kettle drum, tuba, and trombone. For you, David Ruffin appears to perform the high-low Temptations walk. All play on pause now. Stadiums in the Big Ten fall silent as you raise a clenched fist and you exit. And you know what's bad? Ethelbert is my old friend. I'm sorry, Ethelbert. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, the absolutely wonderful Mr. E. Ethelbert Miller.
I'm going to read 9 poems. Inside the bell of the horn, I am combing Frederick Douglass's hair. Douglass is tender-headed. I associate this with mostly the free Negroes I come in contact with. At times, pulling hair is tougher than picking cotton. Douglass is preparing to be photographed again. He didn't like the photos Roy DeCarava took when they were inside a Philadelphia jazz club. Douglass was waiting for Coltrane to get up and play, but then Miles walked in and the place went dark. DeCarava kept shooting. I like his photo of Miles and Douglass. I think it was taken backstage. Davis is showing Douglass how to finger the trumpet, how to play the blue notes trapped inside the bell of the horn. Do you remember the days of slavery? Sun Ra is looking through his telescope, looking for notes. I asked him why it was difficult for some slaves to find the North Star. He smiles and simply says it was too early for them to hear his music. Harlem, 1925. We were standing on a street in Harlem when we told Langston Hughes about our love affair. He called us beautiful dreamers while laughing at our clothes. We were dressed like runaways from the South. Langston said we should go see Ellington if we wanted to know how to dress. Style is knowing how to wear the right notes. Jazz is how you enter a room. Tell me, what did they say? John Coltrane says he just wants to talk about you. I listen to his soul and become jealous. I hold my breath and think about improvising, but Elvin Jones enters the room, followed by McCoy and Garrison. How can I love you when all these men have so much to say? Forgive me, Lester. Last night, Lester Young decided to get the band back together. I thought he would find someone to replace me on piano, but the Prez was gracious and never tipped his hat. I knew I needed to practice, but drugs kept sweetly holding my hands. It was Ellington who once said music was his mistress, and I didn't understand until guys started arguing over a woman at the bar. It was as if we were playing all the wrong notes. I thought I was the lucky one to drive her home, but when I woke in the morning, I found a needle stuck in my arm. Earl Gardner's piano is leaving footprints in the sand. Earl Gardner is sitting by the sea, his piano sunbathing. The salty air catches the splashing of notes in the misty air. Gardner has a nest filled with music in his head. The seabirds are singing as they scatter across the sky. Clouds appear on the horizon. The tide is turning. Time for Gardner, the finger, the keys. That last poem by Earl Gardner, I didn't write by myself. I wrote it with my friend Miho, who lives in South Carolina. We've written over 480 poems in the last 3 years. Our goal is to write 1,000 together. And that's one. And what was very interesting is Miho didn't know a lot about jazz, but then, she's been learning a lot from me. And I was talking to her on the phone, and I had some jazz playing, and she said, "That's Bud Powell." She's much smarter than I am. Yesterday was my mother's birthday. She would have been 105 years old. This is called Boxing with Your Mom, has an epigraph by Yusef Komunyakaa. Whoever said men hit harder when women are around is right. You push the door open, not knowing what to expect. She sits in a chair next to a hospital bed, just sitting. How long? Before you can even enter the room, a big smile of recognition kisses her lips before she kisses you. Her seamstress eyes survey your clothes. You're a rhinestone of a sun, slipping between her shaking hands. As a spark leaves her eyes, she withdraws under her hospital robe. So small she looks, so small she is. You want to leave, but you just came. It's just you and her. You're overmatched. Her moves change so quickly, you can't avoid her jabs. There's bitterness in each blow. She has you against the wall. You're fighting with her again. This is sick, you tell yourself. You want to leave, but the bell never rings. You're trying to love her too much. Things my father never told me. Long before the terms like role model in conferences about the black family and black masculinity and why so many black men are incarcerated, my father turned down the volume of the television and casually told me how he could leave my mother, how he could be like other men who walked out the door and never came back. I was too young to understand what he was saying, because he was speaking to the future in me. Wow. My father always kept his hat by the door. There were nights when I could not sleep, when I walked from the back of the house to the front door, when I went looking to see if my father's hat was still sleeping, that it had not found its shirt, pants, shoes, or coat. I once held my father's hat in my hand like a crown I could not wear, my age undeserving of his weight, and not understanding the beauty of his pain. Wow. Black men are precious. Black men, black friends having strokes. Black men younger than me. Good men with bad hearts. Men who did not follow their fathers into factories or the post office. Black men who went off to college and pulled themselves up by degrees. Men who did not sink into despair, but lifted their families into new homes. Black men who survived the bullets, streets, and police. Black men who saw the horizon and the stars. They marched as if Garvey had held out his hand, not to Ethiopia, but to our hearts. Black hearts, now failing for unknown reasons. Why? Why do we die so young? Why are we not like our grandfathers sitting on the porch rocking away the years? Why are we not the black men returning from the wars and lifting our girlfriends up into wives again? Why do we date this early death? After all the exercise and pills, after the changing diet, why is there such a cruel hunger that appears and takes our years? Black men, my friends resting in their open coffins, waiting for someone to sing, "Precious Lord," and take their hand. Black hands closing with so much love still left to give. There's not enough words in the dictionary to introduce our next writer and poet, Harriet Mullen.
Hello, hello. It is astonishing to be invited into this space with so much beauty and so much wild imagination. And I'm grateful to Joanne and I'm grateful to Lauren for opening this space and inviting us in. So, let me read some poems. Black History Minute, sponsored by the state of Florida. You could say, the Atlantic Triangle trade was a win-win-win deal. Intrepid traders profited by transporting essential goods. Enterprising settlers developed savage land, creating wealth and opportunity. Recruited Africans practiced marketable skills and built up solid resumes, working as unpaid interns. Black History Minute provides students and educators with all you ever need to know about American slavery. Weathering Hate. You know, there's this book about weathering, what it does to the body, what it does to your health, what it does to your life. It shortens your life. So this is Weathering Hate. The way exposed to weather, a body is worn. Velvet threads begin to wither, rapid, ripened beyond the burst bloom. Vibrant strands cut short, then fray, unweaving faded fabric. Sunstruck, rain-warped, storm-blasted, rough-sanded, in whipping wind that whittles rock. Small, tortuous fractures opened in stone where water freezes in the pores with grains of salt. Cracks in the surface pried apart by unrelenting pressure. With incessant freezing and thawing, shock and fatigue, speed ragged stress, shock and fatigue, speed rugged stress to ultimate breakdown. In temperate weather, abrading edges gradually disintegrates resolute minerals. A boulder, even a mountain, will wear down. So will bodies, bent and broken under toilsome burdens, caving beneath unbearable weight. In adverse climate, exposed to harsh elements, caustic rains. This poem is after Gwendolyn Brooks. It's called Iconoclast. I hurl a stone no hand has carved, wondering who shall admire my craft. In emergent air, I create a clamor, scattering simple smithereens. If shattering provokes, I relish, not regret, this furious mission of a menace refusing to be manicured. As a poet would note, my ragged mosaic makes a masterpiece of mayhem, implodes a hole in their display of polished amplitude. If their pain is repaired, my risking hurt remains not healed, but heard. My handiwork composed for an eye sighting a prize, an ear tuned to heed this overture as the work begins with a shrine to my inconsequence smashed, its desecration my creation. Never Touch the Hair of a Goddess, regarding Toni Morrison. Though in your dreams you might caress the face of a distant moon, mingle with stars, chase a brilliant comet in a celestial circuit far from carnal desire, this is not for you. Suppose you tried to stroke furious fire as if a human grasp might handle Gaia's flowing mantle, finger comb her radiant glory. Your will would swiftly wilt as you approached the blazing truth. This is not for you. Sooner tame a flashing comet's streaming locks light years away than stoop to gather jet black tears and loosen threads the goddess Pele sheds, elemental ornaments of frozen time, indifferent to supplicating gesture. When folly leads to certain danger, simply admit, this is not for you. Imagine your fingers entwined with gorgeous filaments forged in flame, dazzling strands of lustrous wire that slice and burn. Turn away to save yourself. This is not for you. Can I do 3 more? Yes. Okay. 3 more and I'm done. Colorless green ideas. Whose idea was it to eat raw kale? Should we blame the author of Vibration Cooking for unveiling naked greens? When another shopper at the produce market asked, pointing to her basket of collards, how do you people prepare them? Verda May replied with a dash of spiteful mischief, salad. We make salad. Let's say that woman
That woman's family praised the collard green coleslaw she improvised. Then she went on to create turnip leaf salad tossed with pomegranate vinaigrette, mustard green Caesar with a gluten-free croutons, and a heart-healthy bowl of gently massaged dinosaur kale, Tuscany's black cabbage. Of course, our early human ancestors, foragers following in the tracks of grazing animals, might have nibbled uncooked kale. Who knows how long it took to develop the recipe for a mess of greens, well seasoned, simmered with a streak of fat and lean. Then again, who knows what humanity might be if Eve and Adam had spared the fleshy fruit and eaten only fresh green leaves of the tree of knowledge? What if the vegan Cain had never slain his carnivore brother Abel? So this is the last one, y'all. Leopard coat spotted at polka dance. Your name may appear on the red list, but no one surpasses your style. They awkwardly envy your muscular body moving with fluent grace. They nakedly covet your dappled mantle of sunlight and shade, brilliant camouflage of dark rosettes adorning opulent fur. Wherever your feet happen to land, you were always the impeccable cat, though there were places you wouldn't be caught alive. Ever since leopard skins have been popular in fashion, you've had a target on your back. Exotic hide commodified, fierce elegance tamed and claimed as sleek, chic. On the hunt for your pelt, the ones who shoot you down don't change their dirty linen. As for you, your glamour's too remarkable to hide. Uniquely stamped, you are stately in your realm, magnificent leopard, resplendent in your skin. Thank you. So who am I introducing? Pardon? I don't see a list here of who I'm supposed to introduce. Oh, I'm the last. Oh, okay. I forgot about that. Thank you, everybody.
Come on, give it up, 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 give it up. That was church. That was Black Poetry Mecca. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we're going to continue with this tomorrow. If you want to get a chance to read poems tonight, you should go to the open mic. We're having fun right there in the lower drum. Okay? Alrighty. So 2 of the 3 shuttle buses are going to leave at 11 p.m. from festival. So if you need the shuttle, you should by 11 p.m. After that, that will stop.
It won't stop. There's one more.
One more after that?
After the open mic.
Oh, one more after the open mic at 12:10. That's what I see.
No, one will stay.
Mm-hmm.
One will stay till everybody's picked up.
Alrighty, we're gonna take care of you. Yeah, that's it. All right, thank you. You can go to the open mic. We're gonna continue tomorrow. Thank our sponsor. They should do it again 10 years time. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, and of course. Tiny books, please. The poets are signing books. So buy books, the poets are signing books. Thank you. No, it's okay. It was still fun.